Welcome back to New Realities. And this is an ongoing series I'm doing with some of the keynote speakers from Portal to Ascension. And we have one of my favorite people, someone I've known a long time, a wisdom keeper, Celestine Star, a good friend, and someone who's been on this journey of metaphysics for a long time. You were brought up in a whole metaphysical tradition, and you're part of the ancient knowledge, aren't you?
Absolutely. Yes.
But today I want to talk about galactic consciousness and your awakening and how that all came about, and sort of referencing that in terms of portal to ascension. So tell me, like you were saying, well, I know a little bit of your history from Linda Moulton Howe interviewed you about your husband working with the ETs back at Air Force Base. I mean, where do you want to start about your contact? Because you've been around the field longer than most people. So talk about your early childhood connections to ETs. Then, I mean, how you changed your consciousness to be so aware of the bigger picture. You know.
Thank you. I am so glad to be here, first of all. And
Oh,
this has been
thank
my pleasure to have you interviewing me. So I love you,
No,
Alan.
we've known each other for what, 25 years, 30 years?
25 years, and now we're here in the hot seat.
Right.
Yeah, so how do I begin with my connection? It started at my birth. I was born into a metaphysical family, so Egyptian and Native American. So we have the star people come in right from the beginning. And it was very present in the house. And so we had Egyptian gods and goddesses, the Neters, the Neteru, um, teachings of this sort. And then later, as I grew up, I spent some time in the Native American. I have Croatan Iroquois. And so received the Star Nation. That was really when I stepped onto the path of the Star Nation. I was trained by Ruby Sky, who was a Arapaho, and she taught me the way of the medicine wheel, which is a platform to teach the universal principles of the sky people upon the earth and the principles of living. So also had the near death experience, and so as I went through the light at the age of 6, I was greeted by two illuminous beings.
Wow.
And it was so natural for me because of having this experience
Yeah.
of being, you know, in nature and understanding that there are other dimensional fields. So I went through that, had the reading of the life, and then into the Godhead.
Right.
So that experience has carried with me all the way. And
How did that change you then? How did that shift your consciousness to have those experiences?
it comes into every cell, and I believe my DNA was fully opened because I would get digital readouts about people before they even would open their mouth. They would walk into the room and I could just have a total understanding. I was, in a sense, a witness. And eventually I asked for some of the powers to be brought down because I was trying to grow up and be a part of society. So I began to kind of catalog consciousness at that point. Um, a big thing happened in New Mexico at 7. Uh, I believe our government set off 10 atomic bombs and ripped the sky in two. I mean, literally for miles and miles, you could see black on one side, and, it was regular sky with birds and things flying. On the other side, it would snow, and where it was black and it was ominous. And then
In
the
New
other,
Mexico or Mexico? Where was this?
New Mexico, Almagardo, we were there just for about a year before I went to England. But yeah, so the Native Americans came out, they danced the ghost dance for the first time. And they spoke about, the earth it had gone off axis 17 degrees at that point, and they spoke about not being able to use their native language to call the spirits as they normally did.
They weren't even allowed to do ghost dancing because it opened up those doorways through the
That's right.
dimension.
But they decided to do it, and I have a photograph of one of the ghost dancers that one of our parents were great photographers, and so they took a picture, and I have that. But anyway, these great starships appeared. And you have to understand that we were children of the DDT,
What does that
opiate.
mean? DD.
We were children of the chemical age. They put
Oh,
DDT on the food, in our milk, cocaine in our
right.
drinks, opiates. So we were just receiving nuclear fallout. There was lots that opened us, our consciousness. So we were in kind of a crisis that was unspoken.
Right.
And the Galactics came out in huge ships. Cars would stop on the freeway. Everybody would get out, and what's happening? Well, it
This
must be
was in
government.
the 60s, 1960s.
60s, yeah, 1960. That's right, 1960, 59, 60,
Mhm.
and yeah. So my first contact is, parents. The stepfather, he drove until they landed, and we ended up in the ship.
Really? So your
That was my
parents were
whole family. Yeah, the
they were
whole family.
into this. That and how old were you at that moment, at that
I was
time?
7. I was 7.
What do you
So
remember from that 7-year-old contact?
I remember not being afraid because I was already conditioned that there were other living beings. And so I was respectful, even though we were examined. And in a sense, they were telling us that they were there to monitor us because we had ripped the sky, we were feeding our children chemicals and doing very dangerous things into the environment.
Wow.
So I remember that. So that set me on a course. We
Wait, can
became
you just tell me who the beings were? What did they look like? Those
They were tall gray. They were the tall grays with the, 3 fingers.
right.
And my brother drew them for quite a while. He would just keep drawing them. But
Wow.
yeah, so that awakened me. And I would say that in galactic consciousness, the basis of that would be you understand that there is a vast creation and there are so many other intelligences than human. So you can see, we were taught at a young age that plants and animals and everything has intelligence, but then to interact with them in such a way that it's useful and it's functional, just like some of the natives in South America, where they understand to talk to plants that heal them, and even the Rapaho, the Hopis, whatever. So what I'm looking at in colonialism, capitalism, and the place of humanity is right now, where we are in society in America and most of the Northern Europeans, is to understand that we moving out of the simplicity of you are whatever color you are, because that's a very abstract. I mean, that doesn't even tell somebody that you're human. You're just an abstract idea, and not you do not come from anywhere,
Right.
white, black, yellow. So that was one thing that I've always worked to help society with, to understand. I was raised mostly in England, so that's nationalism. So, you can go as a child, you learn about parents and then your friends and then your community and your town. And so here I am, nationalism coming back into America, which is filled with racism. So that was a
Right.
big
So you're
shift.
saying there's not the same amount of racism in Great Britain as there is here?
No, I didn't notice this. No, it's more like, how do you present yourself, darling? How do you
Really?
hold yourself? Yeah, I was raised kind of in the upper crust. And so, and so I think of, no, there's not really. I mean, you may be an ambassador's daughter. I may be. So how you pronounce, how you carry yourself, how you speak, these things are taken into consideration. Your position in life, you could be someone who screws in all the light bulbs and you hold your dignity high. There's a
Right.
caring about what you do. That's your position. And so if you carry it in a way of respect, then people respect you.
Mhm.
When you come to America, they don't really give you that opportunity. I many times they would say, "Oh, you're black," and I say, "Oh no, I'm Coco." You know, it's like I'd have to really work with the mentality. Just because I spoke a different way, I was not accepted.
Is it
So,
getting worse? I mean, people, of course, it's more in the news now, but do you think, is it getting better at all for
you
you?
know,
Do you notice?
the point is made, but the word black is really a stigma, and it's a block pattern for further evolution, because
Black and white, it makes everything black and white, doesn't it?
it does. And in a sense, you know, when people look at me and they say you're black, and I'm saying no, you know, I'm Celestine. Okay,
Right.
first of all, see me human. Number two, you know, I was never accepted by the blacks of America because I spoke different, and I
Um,
didn't have the slave mentality. Even my lineage was freeborn. So
where,
not everybody was born of a lineage in America from slaves.
where's your lineage from? Where
Uh,
you?
you know, Nubian Egyptian. I have a
Oh,
Nubian,
I
I'm
see.
more Nubian Egyptian. You know, I've got Nordic, White Russian.
Oh, I see.
You know, see, so not it's such a melting pot. You know,
Right.
but anyway, carrying on beyond this racism and moving into looking at the person. And I remember LBJ, you know, Johnson, Lyndon B. Johnson, started in the 1960s the immigration thing of white.
Mhm.
He was the one that started the patterning.
Okay. I didn't.
Okay, so yes, he started the pattern. It was for white people because they didn't want to have a list at Ellis Island of, you know, Italian, French, German, you know, so they just categorized them as white. And even the Semitic, right? And so was categorized as white. So there was a bunching in, a whole new category of consciousness that was born out of the Americas during those times and out of slavery, which is, you
Right, but
know,
of course, but you at an early age even meeting those extraterrestrials who are
I,
vastly different. That's like
so intelligent. Yes, I just received an evolved consciousness at an early age to accept and for the benefit of my own self, but to understand it as a natural thing. So that's
mm,
what we're breaking through. Not only this Black Lives Matters, which I love dearly and do not want anybody to be harmed in any way for any reason, but it is a mind block in a sense because you're stuck at the racism and there's nationalism and then there's global consciousness.
but
And
do
then
you,
once you hit global consciousness, then you're ready to accept that the earth is a part of the whole Milky Way. The galactic see us as the children of the Milky Way. They don't see us just as um, people from Earth. You know,
how
they
do you
see us.
yeah, no, I'm just going, how do you do away with the slave mentality or whatever? I mean, it's not just black America,
Well,
it's
I break it down into two categories, right? Okay, so from the place of the colonialists, uh, they are playing a game that they are superior, but they're living in illusion because their grandmother and their great grandmother told them, you are superior. But
the
in
white
truth, if you're in
colonialists.
England, you know, the only ones who are superior are the royals.
Mm, right.
Everybody else is below, beneath, and that is so. And so, unless a plantation owner is the royal from the royal blood, which I have royal blood, they are not superior to me. So they're speaking an illusion that was given to them and told that other people were not, they were creatures, you know, like people of color were actually not even human. I mean, if you could put that in your mind frame. And they were born out of the Aryan race, which the skin was pure because of their eyes and such. So they're
Well,
living in
the
an
Aryan
illusion.
race, wasn't that more of a higher consciousness when they talk about the great white brother? They don't mean white.
No, no, the Aryan race, the ones that took over India, that came down and
Oh, oh, oh,
took over India, who were in Europe, the high countries of Europe, and they had the pure, like the Nordics, and they would consider the Aryan race because they have the blonde hair and the blue eyes. And there is a race of lighter skinned galactic beings, but it doesn't speak to the superiority, because most of the galactics see everybody as equal. Absolutely, know, they understand it. It just depends on their need for resources. If they put themselves in a position where a human feels like they're working together with, some of our governments are working together dangerously with extraterrestrials that do not have our human race in their heart, but rather the resource availability of utilizing us. So, that I want to get to the racism of the colonial mind, and then you have the African mind. I asked the mother, I said, why is this slavery going on? And she said to me, because they allow the raping of the earth. And so there was a point when the tally had to be made. It was the reclamation of all of the gold and silver and from all the European countries that took golds and stuff out. And these people who became slaves offered up their DNA, their blood, their voice, their everything. They gave everything to pay for that. And it's still happening. And
Right.
there will be a reconciliation against that as well. But
Right.
I understood that their goal, that those who are enslaved or of the lesser or feel that they're less than and not enough, they're also living in an illusion. And I'm often the world bridger, showing, for instance, even my own family. When I was back east, I married into a person in the South, and they didn't believe they could even get a job. I said, I'm going to walk out of here and I'm going to get 2 jobs. Okay. So I walked out of the house and I went down and I got one job in an OR, working in operations in a hospital, the operating rooms, and another working in catering in the one afternoon.
Right.
So,
No, I believe you because you have that mindset that you could do anything you want. I mean, you
yeah,
have
it's not about my skin or who that,
right.
it's
It's your consciousness. So it's so like separate worlds. Like, how do we go from the racism mentality on both sides to the galactic? That is such a huge leap. But we're going to do it in this, I
in this
think,
life
next
right now. It's
year.
happening. For the
Yes, that's what,
last 10, well,
yeah.
for the last 10 years, I have been in a position, thank you, to bring people to a place where they can interact with beings from another uh, level of consciousness. They have high technology, they're loving, exciting, they love us. So they move from the place of the radiant one, which is the creator impulses, and then they work with me on a daily basis for 30 days. And we take people out and they get to experience. It's not like a maybe flyby experience, it is uh, designed especially to open the synapses. So that's the first thing they do, is they work on your synapses, because like Drake bringing his ships into the bay, some of the Native Americans couldn't see them.
Right,
They just didn't have the wiring. So
right,
they do fun things like they appear in ships. They appear in hologramic airplanes,
uh-huh,
and maybe one wing will go. Maybe they'll split into two, split into four, come back again, zoom around, and they'll do it again. Maybe there's hundreds of dragonflies. They love nature. There is no difference between nature and their existence. There's no difference between the angelic realm and those that get in the spacecraft. In fact, a most interesting thing that's been happening is they've given me an encoded way to work with people in understanding where you came from before you came to Earth. and we call it a galactic origin session. And what happens is you're taken back through the time barrier. There's a literal time barrier of 10,500 years ago where the separation was for the purpose so that humanity would stop being tampered with. And if you read the book, The Galactic Earth Council, Reintegration of the Earthkin and the Starkin, that I've written and it's out there published, you'll see in chapter 11 that there was, the humanities, the Earth is a specific tone, and our structure is the signature tone for Earth.
Right.
And it continued to be tampered with. And so the floods and all that was a part of what they call the reverse consciousness. There are beings whose consciousness is reversed. And that's what we're dealing with right now.
Well, I think
It's,
they're also talking about the timeline divergence that also happened when 10,500 years ago, when the civilization sort of went through an upgrade or a downgrade, we took a different direction. It feels
well,
like.
in other words, when the frequencies are too low and the reverse ones come forward, those are ones who want to take over, own. Mars had blown out their atmosphere, from what I understand. They were given a place in the Fertile Valley to re-establish, but humanity had already been here. We are the signature form. Nobody lived in the greening area, as they call it. They lived in dimensional fields adjacent, which is what we're interfacing right now as the frequencies rise. So my work is to take people back to the very first time they came to Earth. It's a gentle awakening, but it's a profound awakening that they are not in the form of a human when they most likely got here.
Right.
And then from there, we take them back to their original form, which could be sound. It could be another place where beings, of their own mind, tall with fingers, whatever. But I've done over 100 different returns.
Is
The
this
return,
regression? How do you do them? Do you do like a
it's a,
hypnotic?
it's a form of regression, but they work with their Merkaba. They create their own transformative ship to go back, and we work with their primal awareness, which is very different than regular regression, specifically because the primal awareness is the highest consciousness. So this enables that integration you're asking, is to bring that primal awareness into the present moment, because it has all the answers and there's no barriers, there's no time barriers. So once you open the field, all the information comes forward. Why did you come here? What's your contracts? Do you need to continue? What are you doing here? Where's your grouping? And then we ground it back once we discover where they come from in the cosmos.
Right.
Then we
You,
get to ground it back into their being,
hmm.
should they desire. It's always with desire. And they get to begin the alchemical process of reintegrating themselves as a galactic consciousness.
Well, this I'm so happy you're saying this because you're the third woman who's going to be a portal to ascension, who's very much on that same frequency. I talked to Geraldine Orozco and Rebecca Hardcastle,
Yeah.
and you're all so aligned with bringing in the galactic awareness so we can shift out of this old way of being and dealing and indulging in the lower emotions that just keep us stuck in the cycle and addicted to patterns of behavior. And you and them are talking about awakening to this other, well, it's like you said, neural nets of higher consciousness. And
Yeah. It's been on a course, and then in society, my work as a clinical hypnotherapist and alchemical, the process of going through and polishing the mirror. What are the traumas? Getting rid of the traumas. And a lot of people are finishing up the mommy and daddy traumas and their life traumas, and they're stepping forward into a bigger state of being in the world so they could be in society. So these two things are happening. I think evolution really happens within, and it's a need. And so we're in a state of need right now. We have to figure out, and they've shown me, the Galactics have shown me there's two timelines. One is a group of people who are what I call took the black pill or the black box with
Right.
tentacles, right? And they believe the end is near. You know, it's like we're driving over the cliff, and the COVID, and just, and not that it isn't real, but it's just this pushing towards sadness and really a
Fear.
lot of grief.
It's
And then
another way of building fear. But and then the
yeah,
other line,
their life is based in fear. That's a good way to put it.
right.
And then the other is opening themselves to releasing the old patterning, looking towards the new, envisioning good things are happening. They're processing and developing themselves, new techniques, new ways of being. And so they're rising in consciousness, and that's where we're going. So what I've been told is 1111, get ready. The
11 11 2020. You're saying?
11/11 2020, it's going to be a double mirror, and there's a mirroring. It's still unfolding for me, the information, but it's going to be the turning point, because from this time at the beginning of May till now, this has been a time where each person has decided for themselves, are they going to drive off the cliff, or are they heading up to the higher realms?
Well, you know what? I just want to say I feel you are galactic consciousness talking to us with these possibilities. You're not channeling. You are the embodiment of that encoding that is now communicating this to everyone listening. So,
Thank you. I have been across the river. I have walked into the other realms. I have seen it. It is glorious. I cannot even tell you, what it feels like to step into a starship and just fly, and we
so
don't
what do we have to
it's
do?
available.
What do we do to make sure we take the timeline that gets us to the starship and not off the cliff? You know.
It begins in the heart, and accepting that there is other consciousness other than the humanities. And humans are not in charge at all. We cannot even do this alone. There is no way. And time again, these beings of higher light and intelligence have stepped in to save us on so many different levels. You would not even believe it. So just opening the heart, and you know, I think for Americans or people of Northern European, the angelic realms is a place to call into, which they've always done. But to know that it's real, and so the awakening is to understand that their presence is going to be seen more, because our resonant field is rising. If you look at the Schumann resonant field, our third dimension is done. And as we go into this higher state of realization, be open, because it's going to happen. Open the heart and connect to a higher consciousness of beneficial effect. It's really
Mhm.
important to visualize that we have made contact with a good grouping,
Right.
and our leaders are stepping out. We have good leaders. They're telling us to envision. The envisioning is important because the universe rearranges itself to accommodate our reality.
Wait, who are our leaders? You're saying? Well, you are, and some of the people at Portal.
Our national, our world
Oh,
leaders, we have been guided by people of reversed consciousness. They are not in a state of beneficial effect.
right. I can see that.
And the underworkings, this is why a lot of this is coming up. And so you're asking me what to do, is to see the highest good for humanity, that we make it around the corner, that we are going towards a higher state, that we do have fresh water and the children are free, and that we have a respect about ourselves, because the plans that are here for Earth, Earth used to be one of the places where beings would come to have wisdom. We were a place of teaching and learnedness. And that is a theme that if people could hang on to that, it could be a place to go with the future. Why are we connecting to these higher beings? Because Earth has always been. This is why they brought so much beauty and grace with all the plants and everything here, because it was a place where experiments on resources and things could take place in a big way. And so,
Yes, it's a very lovely planet. It's a very nice planet, very green and lush and diverse. I don't think there's a lot of other planets that have the diversity. And we
yeah,
don't appreciate it. And
just making it a place to learn. We were the learned ones, the wisdom keepers. This is why education is so strong within our bloodlines. This is why even the shamans, they were the keepers that held the gateways open for anybody who needed to go back and connect with the star people. They were the ones, they were the gatekeepers. And so they're giving us this as a means of why we can connect with each other. They want to give us the technology. They want to connect us with tachyon energy instead of micro energy.
right.
The micro energies is going to take most of humanity out. We're seeing some of the overlay of that with the 5G and already the weaponized 6G that we all know. And so, you know, what we do is we envision beyond that, that we begin to use the tachyon field energy to do our communications with. And they're willing to give us whatever we need, but we need our leaders to who are of reverse consciousness are thinking that they're in control of the world when they're really not. They're in a scary position, let me tell you, that they're able to step down and allow goodness to come forward. And
Well, I don't know who those leaders are that you're talking about. I mean, if you want to name names, I mean, I don't know if we want to go there, but
well, look at Trump, look at Biden, you know, most of
no,
our Senate. I mean, let's count it all down. I mean,
no, they're not the leaders that will take us to these new realities for sure.
period,
They're,
period.
yeah, yeah,
So, you know, who's going to vote? Vote for what? I tell people it's not really the vote that is. We all create our own reality. So, if we can begin to call forth the leaders who can help whoever we vote in to make the right decisions for humanity, you know.
well, I know we're on an upswing, and talk about what galactic consciousness really looks like once that takes hold of the earth plane. How will we live? I mean, if you just want to kind of
They
project it.
see us as kin. They see us as brothers and sisters. They admire us. You know, those that I work with in a big way, the High Spiritual Council and the Galactic Star Federation and the Star Confederation. They all see us. They say, "Wow, you came into a human form, the signature form, your galactic consciousness in a human form." And you know, they tease, how do you see through those little eyes, you know? But they are very humorous, but they see us as brother and kin. How can we help you? So for each of you, and I was specific in my last Skywatch, what are you all about? You must know what you're about in order for them to help you. You're a communicator, Alan. So it would be interesting for them to take you into the city of light, which is right before your eyes. You would be
Right?
surprised. And show you means of communication, telepathic energies. Just
I think I've
elevate
been
your,
there. I think
yeah,
I have a sense of that. I do. I do.
okay. I'm
Yeah.
sure you're being contacted because you're so galactic in your own consciousness. That's why, you know, one of the things I love you for is that you push people to awaken their consciousness because yours is elevated. You understand that.
Well, I also do it because I want to also be more elevated, more, I mean, push people or tune into them because I feel if we all do this together, there will be energetic synergistic effect on all our consciousnesses. So
You
that's why
got
I like
it.
talking to you because you've been there for a long time. I didn't know it was that long since you were 7, but
Oh,
since
since
I
way before that, yeah.
well since
So
I
the
had
question,
met you. Yeah, what?
yes, the question is, if you had the opportunity to go into, and as I say, the city of light, because they don't, most of them don't live in the greening area. This is called the greening area. They always live in a dimensional field adjacent. If you had that opportunity to go into the place, what would you desire? What do you need to know?
Well, what I say, are you asking me? Because what
Yeah.
I say is let's picture a world where it is already utopian, where everything's taken care of, where there is free energy, where people don't have to suffer from racism or starvation and all the awful things. What do we do after all our needs are met and our consciousness is all on an awakened level? Everything is given to us. I know that's utopian. My question is, what do we do when we no longer have to struggle? No one on planet Earth. What is the purpose of incarnation? That's the place I like to start. And I have an answer, but I'm curious about what
So
you think.
for what I would say to you is, you begin with each person. Each person is birthed into creation by the radiant one. So the baseline is, what is your purpose and function? Everything is designated starting from there. What is your expression for the source? Because they respect it. There's a writing I did. They gave me this information called, it's relationship, you know, to functionality. So your purpose would then be supported in being fulfilled. As we awaken to who we are, me being Celestine, and my function and quality, I awaken and I begin to create my own life. So there's a dual nature going on, one that is fulfilling my purpose and function and expression. And the other one is myself saying, what do I want to make today? I think I want to
That's,
speak
that's
on
it, I
myself,
think.
right?
No,
And
that,
so that creativity is then supported. So we
right.
have lots of creativity going on
That's
that.
what I think too. I think we incarnated to emulate creation as creators. And so
Yes,
with
eventually, yeah. They call us human sea consciousness because
really,
we're awakening to become God self. And once we become God self, then you go to a next level. But as you become next level, one of the things that happen, if I could share, is that you begin to meet the immortals. You
right.
began to meet them. They appear to you as they appeared to me, Tai Li Po, Yeshi Sojo, um, different beings, this high spiritual council. They appear to you, and then you work together in creation in different ways, and you could go to different dimensions, and it's just amazing. It's infinite.
So you met the immortals and
I
they
have been with the immortals, yes, darling.
beautiful. Where do they hang out?
I was guided out of San Francisco to go up to live in Middletown, and
Where
I,
Harbin Hot Springs was? Where Harbin?
yes, I didn't even know Harvard existed until harmonic conversion in August of 1987, and we had 980 acres to walk on. I didn't know it was Pomo Indian Miwok Vision Quest land, and so after about 2 or 3 years and just kind of noticing lights and things were different, wait a minute, that's on a plane. And just my own self, I started going deeper and deeper into just my own practice of meditation. I would be in the forest for hours. I had a girlfriend I walked with, and we ended up just drinking water for days and days. I became a yogini, and when my consciousness, I'm learning as I'm looking back, how did this happen? My consciousness got to a certain frequency, and all of a sudden I had the appearance of Ty Lee Po.
Of who? Oh, the immortal Tylee.
Ty Lee Po. and he just kind of visualized, he just came into, it was almost like a liquidy form, and then all of a sudden this man was standing in front of me. I didn't know who it was. He was Asian, Chinese
It's
style.
the Taoist immortals you're talking about, the Taoist.
Yeah, he just kind of materialized, and you're standing in front of a man in the forest, and I'm going, okay, am I going to be okay, right? And then eventually, when my body stopped shaking, he spoke and said he was Ty Lee Po. We had conversations. I've had Yeshi Sojo and Babaji Meher, the high Babaji. I've
Yeah,
had Galactics. Once you get in a state of mind, a frequency of meditation, it's all based kind of on your own consciousness. It depends on your path in life, where your destiny is. They don't just appear,
right.
they don't. You just got to kind of get there. But I'm sure for you, Alan, they're
I don't
ready.
know. I've had dreams of them, but they never, boom, right there in front of
It's
me.
very
But
different. Yeah. I think if you go in the forest a little bit,
I think
there's
I will.
places. Yeah. There's
You know,
places
thank
where
you
they,
for share. That is great because when you're in the presence of those masters, something changes in your cellular vibration. So,
there's truth.
mm,
And when you're in the Godhead, there's truth. And you carry that with you, and they leave you with blessings. Mary Magdalene, Amaji, she's an avatar. She's appeared to me in her rainbow body twice.
mm.
Yeah, so these are living masters, and they're here to help us.
Don't you think that's our destiny? Each one of us is to be that as well.
Absolutely. And they're there to help us. But you are already that.
Right.
And so letting go of the blocks, and that's a part of the work I do, is awakening people to accept their divinity. We call it divinity, but it's actually, you are immortal. And there's a process that you go through, and there's energies that connect. Like with Babaji, he was surrounded by a golden light, and this golden light stayed with him. Even Sri Aurobindo, he was the last of his lineage that had the golden light that surrounded. I have experienced the golden light. You make a decision if you want to take your last breath inside that golden light, and then you become immortal. So that's one method, right? And
Beautiful.
Sri Aurobindo decided not to take his last breath inside the golden light.
Why did he decide that? I wonder.
I haven't been able to read, or I know he left some writings, but I'm not sure. But he decided not to do that. But the golden light is radiant glory. It's just radiant glory, and
But
there's a mental state that you have to be able to hold in order to be in it.
I was at Aurobindo's Samadhi site in Pondicherry by his ashram, and I was meditating next to it, and I went so deep. I think the deepest meditation I ever did, levels and levels and levels, and I was just somewhere else, but very content. And someone had to like shake me to get
Wow.
me out.
See?
But so maybe he decided, I'm just guessing here, he decided to go deeper in to another level of consciousness as opposed to the golden body. I don't know, but it
Yeah,
was
he didn't need to be immortal. I mean, he knew, I mean, that when you step out of this, you're still going to be there. And I believe he has the ability to come back in should he choose.
mhm,
In other words, he knows the way. And I think he helps people from the other side. He got you there. I'm
right,
sure, there was a calling for you to be there. You wouldn't have been there,
right.
so
Well,
there's
didn't
things
we
that,
both study with Ramtha? Didn't you go? Were part of the Ramtha school?
yes, yeah,
That
I
was
think so.
another ascension teaching of the light body, and
Yes.
and and so I think as we talk about this more, as we make this public, as we kind of partake of the portal to ascension, we're building a portal to ascension. which
Yeah,
is
I love it. I love what you're saying. We are literally building, we're waking up, we're giving the blessings to humanity. It's time, it's your wake up call. And the bell is dinging that uh, as they, it's really interesting because we saw, what was it, 1,400 people saw some ships, spacecrafts the other day. And
where.
gosh, I forget where it is, but you could just Google it. Yeah, it was all
Right.
in. But they don't have to. The thing is, the reintegration of humanity with the galactics is happening now. There's
How do we
no,
know, what does that look like, the reintegration for us?
the reintegration is they do not have to cloak anymore.
Right.
Um, they do have to have permission. Those are the highest vibrational frequencies, do have to have permission from the radiant one or God. They don't just appear or go places. Um, they, in order to interact with us, it has to be worked out.
Right. Well, they're
And
appearing more and more in our sky. So
we
they're,
are we are seeing them more and more because our frequency of our sky is different.
well, that's a good way to put that. Thank you. Thank you. So, no, it's changing for us or for them or the planet. And
We're becoming one like this.
mm,
We're
well,
interfacing.
this is what I hope you talk about on the Portal to Ascension conference that is
I'm
coming
so
up.
glad. Yeah, this is good. This is good for us, huh?
Yes, it's nice to connect this way. It's always like hi, and yeah.
Hi. Yeah.
But also tell us about the book that you just wrote, because I think people should know about that book as well. Do you have a copy of it?
Yes, I do have a copy of it right here. And I hope I'm not on reverse. Tell me if I'm on
No,
reverse.
I think it show. No, it's
Oh,
fine.
good.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, this is it. The Galactic Earth Council.
yeah.
And there it is. You
And how
know,
do people get a copy of this?
you can go to the Galactic Earth Council.com. And for those who just go right to the photographs, and I'll take you to one that you'll enjoy. Let's see.
Of course, you have some great footage, don't you? I haven't even talked. Oh, yes.
So
This is.
that the top one is for humanity. It was I asked them for an image, and particular one, I took a picture of it as a fireball that came into the sky, and
Over
then
Mount Shasta, is that?
no, out on the Skywatch here in Fairfax,
Oh,
and
nice.
then it opened up and became a Merkaba.
Great.
So you have to get the book, and then also I was with Deborah.
Yeah,
Here's our
Evergy's
girl. She took that picture.
great. Those are ships of sorts.
And then this one was a doctor. They actually created the sky of San Francisco, the skyscape, out of a cloud, and
Wow.
they lit it up with their starships for our
Great.
group.
Well,
So there's a lot of good wisdom in here and channelings, and also the group, the Galactic Earth Council, wrote their testimonies in here as well. So you don't have to take my word for it. The book.
they wrote it. They
They wrote
wrote it through you. They kind of came
They
in.
wrote their pieces. They wrote their experience because we've been out there for 10 years. This group has been together for 10 years. It started with the oil, thing that was happening in the Gulf of Mexico. And the Galactic said, bring them out. Like, they have to give us permission to help because our people, BP, they couldn't figure it out. And it had already gone 3 or 4 months, 3 months, and so I brought everybody out, 30 people. They came out, we gave them permission. They actually came out for us.
Mhm.
And all night long, we screamed happiness. And then we've been meeting for 10 years ever since.
Wow, I want to go out on a skywatch with you. Okay.
Come with me on 11/11.
Oh, maybe I will. Where are you going?
Maybe
Shasta?
we're going to go here in Fairfax.
All right. Well, how can people get in touch with you if they want to?
If they want to go, they have to go through the process. There was a time when I do open circles, but we need you to go through the galactic origin, and it is something that you have to make an offering to the Galactic Earth
Right.
Council to keep things
Sure.
going. But what it does is it breaks down who you are. You're not just going to walk in the circle. You're going to have an understanding that there are galactics because you are one.
Right.
It makes a big difference. And I want to offer it for you, Alan. I'll offer you the experience.
I'd love that. If I'm out in Fairfax, maybe. I mean, if I'm there, I would definitely love to
If
be.
you're there, otherwise we could do a private. I do privates,
All right.
and who knows? I could fly where you are. Where are you at now? These
Well, I'm going to be in Sedona at some soon. So
Sedona's good.
yeah,
Sedona, they come out
that's
wherever I go. They are there.
right,
So
because they are with you, and you part of
yeah,
it.
it may be that we could meet in Sedona and do something like that.
Maybe let's talk about that. So I'll give you a call, and I'll see you at Portal to Ascension for sure.
Yes,
Celestine Star,
thank you.
one of my longtime friends, and
Yes,
I'm happy you're going as deep as you are into this work because people think, oh yeah, I saw a UFO, but that's just the entry point into something that is so deep and mind altering in a natural way. It's mind altering, but it's
when you stop seeing the plane
yeah.
or the ship and you say, who's driving the ship? Isn't that a cool thing to have? And you start, so in our grouping, that's the first thing. And then I have, okay, tell me, is it a male, female, or androgynous? And they just snap it out. They snap it out. And the commander comes out and sits with us. We had the commander came out and sat with us for 45 minutes.
Really in the flesh.
Yeah, I mean, he will hover in his craft. Sometimes they fly over. It depends on the nature of everybody in the circle dictates what's happening.
Right.
So maybe an orb of light will appear so vast and big in the sky. Maybe it'll split into two and dance down. Maybe it'll start coming towards us because it's getting ready to manifest itself as a being. And if everybody screams or gets scared, they disappear, you see.
Right. Right.
So it just depends on, but
Thank
it's,
you for this great work, and let's be in touch, okay?
let's be in touch. I love you.
uh, I appreciate your work, your intensity, your interest, your depth that you're going to with this whole
Thank you
thing.
for letting me share. Yeah, because we haven't been able to share for,
I know, but this makes a difference for people hearing this. It kind of lights them up and says, well, maybe I'm part of a extraterrestrial consciousness anyway, like all of us. So
it's a gentle awakening. I mean, I've taken a pilot from American Airlines. I've taken, executives, people from all walks of life, and I'm learning from this body of work that they placed into my hands. I'm learning about people and why they've come to Earth, and it's really beautiful, really, really beautiful.
I'm going to introduce you to Rebecca Hardcastle, or Exoconscious Institute, and
Okay,
Rebecca Hardcastle.
I
Geraldine Orozco is another beautiful sister that you will love. Who, yeah, there's a whole network I think we can start to create for this. So
beautiful.
I'll give you a call soon, okay?
Okay, my love.
Okay, Celestine Star, Celestine, and we'll be speaking at Portal to Ascension. Let me just put that up. October 1st to the 5th. You said free or donation, and there she is right there in the middle.
Yep, I'll
And
be on Friday at 3:15.
okay, great. I will
Mm-hmm.
be in touch. This is Alan Steinfeld for New Realities, and thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, peace.
Okay, did I jump off?
Yeah, I'm closing this, so see you later.